I've been working with The Giver, which is a story by Lewis Lowry from 2014, and I've been working with both the book and the movie, but I will be using references from the book. And I'll start out with a short summary of the story, and then I'll present an analysis with an interpretation, and then compare the movie with the book on a general level only, and then find the differences and similarities. And I'll compare this dystopian novel with another one we read. Yes. And this dystopian novel, The Giver, is about a young boy named Jonas living in this so-called community with his family unit and his two friends Asher and Fiona. And in this community it is the elders who are in charge of the citizens and everything in the community. And in this city or community, the citizens don't know what it means to feel anything, because they are forced, or it is mandatory for all to receive these injections every day that makes you feel nothing. And that's why the movie starts out with being black and white. But then Jonas is assigned a job at the ceremony of 12, where he turns 12, where he gets the title the receiver of memories, where he suddenly sees all of these memories from what seems to be our world as it looks like today. So that means probably that this dystopian story is about the future. If we continue the way we are living now. I will talk more about that in a bit. But yeah, that's the main theme in this story. And then this dystopia is a society dystopia, because the society presents the result of some human error, and then it presents an idealized society. And the human error that assumedly caused this, well, is war, selfishness, and etc. Greed. It could be the 7 deadly sins, as greed, envy, pride, lust, gluttony, wrath, and sloth, which presents a religious undertone. But it's also because that in this dystopia we are in lack of basic human relations, which Maslow presented in his hierarchy of needs. And in this dystopia they search the three top parts, which is friendship, love, family, success, and respect. And then perhaps self-actualization. And then there's the family unit, that you are actually assigned a family. It's not by blood. It's more technical, and who fits best together. And then there are the ceremonies. There is a ceremony of loss, and one of the ones, or also called the naming. And then the 2s and 3s and so on, where they celebrate the birthdays of the children, but it's not actually their birthday, but it's just a day where they celebrate that all of them has now been living in this community for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and so on. And then there's a ceremony of replacement. And then of course there is the ceremony of release, which is basically just another way of saying killing people who's either too old or too dysfunctional for this community. And then they are quite insensitive in this community, probably because they don't feel. So it's mother said and father was, and then one time in the text, Jonas says that he saw a male 7 walking by, and that's just him saying he saw a boy, 7 years old. Yes. And then there's a lot of rules. There's this specific rule to not draw any attention to the differences about the individuals, which is quite central in this community, which is what it's all kind of based on. Them trying to remove all kinds of differences between the citizens. Yes, and then there's some dystopian elements, and there's a setting. To start out with, that the memories of the distant past corresponds to our daily world, which means that it takes place in the future, which I've already said. And then there's the independence in general that is quite restricted. That is freedom and free thoughts. So they are not actually allowed to have, or not capable of having at all, because they don't feel the desire to have these free thoughts or this freedom. And then there's a figurehead and a concept that is worshipped, and that is, of course, the chief elder, played by Meryl Streep in the movie, which I have a text example about that, where he says, Jonas, but he knew she hadn't made a mistake. Elders didn't make mistakes. On page 57, where it quite underlines respect towards the authority. And then there's community, and it is this idealized community, where he says, or asks himself, Jonas, in the text, that how could someone not fit in? The community was so meticulously ordered, which is a positive thing, on page 48. And then there is this fear, or at least this unknowing feeling of the outside world, where Jonas asks his friend, do you know anyone who joined another community? Where Asher answers no, but you can apply for elsewhere and be released. And then he tells a story about his mother using elsewhere as a scare story. And he says, she used to tell me of someone who applied and then was gone forever. Also on page 48. So this fear of the outside world is seen in the way that they use elsewhere as scare stories. Yes. And then they're in this kind of dehumanized state. They are controlled, they are injected, unknowing, unfeeling. They are actually marionettes, and then they are uniformed, which leads on to the uniform expectations, which is also a dystopian element, where when you become a 7, you receive your front button jacket, on page 40, where their mother tells Lily, the sister, that she has to wear something different on the time of her ceremony of 7. Yes, and it's an illusion of this perfect utopian world, where the feelings have been removed, and they know only of good manners and rules and these orders. And an example is that they have removed snow due to climate control, and that it made food growing difficult. And then Jonas is different. He sees the color of the apple in a quite early state of the story, where he says the apple had changed, page 24, and he didn't know what it was, but he just knew that something was different. And then that's when he sees the colors, which is easier to guess in the movie because, of course, we see the apple in color for the first time in the movie at that point. And then about the skipping of his announcement, where the chief elder has to inform the community about Jonah's assignment, where he skips his number. He says she had skipped him, and that he had always been 19, his number, on page 57, where he for the first time admits to himself that she was wrong and he was actually right. So in that way, he is different. So to compare the movie with the book a little bit, there's this